So, recently on August 26th, I went with my family to the Ed Sheeran concert with openers Maisie Peters and Khalid. So, we actually won free tickets from this thing called VetTix, basically where veterans can get free tickets for some concerts since my dad is a veteran. So, I will say before the concert, I had never heard of Maisie Peters before. I kept forgetting her name for some reason. I kept mixing it up with Daisy Grenade, which was the band that opened for Water Parks, which a great band, by the way. Definitely worth checking out, but that's besides the point. Khalid, I wasn't too familiar with, but I did know a few of his songs that were popular or on the radio, and I wasn't a massive fan, but I liked Ed Sheeran and a good amount of his songs, and it's just always more fun seeing music live. It really helps me discover more artists and appreciate them more. The live energy just makes them so much more interesting. Anyways, it was a really fun concert. Apparently there were 81,000 people in attendance, which is absolutely insane, honestly, and it was record-breaking for Lumen Field. I prefer small theaters for sure. It's a bit overwhelming with so many people, but it was still a good concert overall. It took forever to get in, with really long lines. We had to take a really packed train with tons of people to get there. And the concert itself, the music, that was great, but for the whole experience, it was kind of mixed because it was so chaotic and overcrowded, just difficult to get in because it's such a massive stadium. So anyways, I'll just go over my experience with the concert, how we got there, and the stuff we did, and then talk about the performances and my opinions on them. So yeah, on the way there, we ate dinner before heading over to the concert, then we drove to the train station. We had to wait a bit to get tickets, and then we got on the light rail. It took a little while to get there, it was pretty crowded, and even when we got there, we still had to wait quite a while longer, some massive lines. Had to go through security, all that stuff, and even when we got past that, it still took quite a while more to get to our seats. And I will say, there was some annoying, obnoxious guy with a megaphone and a sign shouting about some religion, something like that. Just annoying. I have no problem with religion at all, but do not be yelling in the streets trying to convert people to do that. Just really obnoxious. Don't do that. But yeah, it happened several times outside concerts and events I've been to, which is weird, but yeah. So we had to climb lots of floors to get to the right level, very big arena. We had to find our seats, and even when we finally found our seats, some people were in our seats for some reason. They somehow got the wrong seats, so we had to sort that out, and then we finally got to sit down. It was just a really chaotic experience to get in there, and just not fun, really. But then, I'm not surprised, because it's such a big arena in the middle of Seattle. Seattle's just crazy anyway. And this is just another thing that proves small theaters are better. You get in way faster, they're way more comfortable, they're more intimate. It's a very nice setting. I think that's a good way to put it. And something that's interesting, Ed Sheeran actually did a show the night before at Paramount Theater, which is obviously much smaller, and he played all the songs from Subtract, which is pretty cool, because it's way more toned down in the acoustics, so since it's more focused on lyrics, it makes sense to perform in a small theater setting. And he did his hits, of course, and he performed several songs from his upcoming album, Autumn Variations, which is interesting because that's unreleased. At least that's what the setlist said. I don't know if that's really true, but it would have been pretty cool to see that, but I was so glad to be able to go to this one. Okay, so starting off with Maisie Peters. So yeah, pretty much as soon as we sat down in our seats, Maisie Peters finished playing, which was a shame. We missed pretty much all of her set. Really unfortunate. I heard some of it on the way to our seats. I just didn't get to see much of it. But they sounded pretty good, and she had good vocals. It sounded like acoustic folk pop style, something like that, which is interesting. I don't have much else to say about it, and it's just a shame it took so long to get our seats. I was not expecting it to be that bad, but I guess that's just what you get with 81,000 people there. And then I will just say, from what I've heard of Maisie Peters after the concert, pretty good. It was a cool, unique sound. I never heard of her before the concert, and I didn't realize she was decently popular, so that's cool. And that's just another great thing about concerts. You can discover artists you never would have heard of otherwise. This happened to me so many times for concerts I've been to. And again, this is why I strongly believe you should see all the opening acts if you can. Don't deliberately skip them, because you pay for the whole concert. You might as well see all of them. You can discover some new artists you might end up really liking. Then moving on to Khalid. So yeah, Khalid was pretty good. I was surprised. I knew most of the songs he played, actually. He sounded pretty good. Also, the guitarist and the drummer were pretty good. I always find it a little weird how only the main acts at concerts, they really get access to all the full screens and stuff. But I guess that's just because they're the main act. Ed Sheeran had a lot more screens and different special effects. But then again, he's the main act. So The opening acts, it was just like the screen above them and their name or logo, which is fine. And it's always good when bands make good use of the screens, because especially from far away, it's really difficult to see them. So being able to see them bigger on the screen and seeing them up close is quite nice. And Khalid played 12 songs, only about half an hour though. Some songs were a bit short. I knew about like half of the songs before the concert or so. All of them were pretty good. Also, cool thing, he played the song he sang with Marshmello, Silence. I had honestly forgotten about that song for a while. It's a pretty good song and it's nostalgic for me. I also had more of a focus on the drumming and the guitar, which was cool. And some other songs I knew was East Side, Talk, and Better. And this was a pretty good performance, and that's really all I have to say. So, finally moving on to the main act, Ed Sheeran. I have a lot more to talk about this one. He played quite a lot of songs. Setlist was 27 songs in total and lasted like over 2 hours, which is pretty impressive. And there was a good amount of variety, although unfortunately only 2 songs from his latest album, Subtract, although he did play the full album the night before at the Paramount Theater, which, I talked about how that fits better in a small theater setting, but the songs he played were really good. And there was a lot of cool visual effects, bright colors, different moving things displayed on the screens and animations. There was like some fire blasts, there were fireworks a few times. That was surprising and really cool. The stage setup was pretty cool and unique. Had a big rotating stage in the middle. There was a giant circular screen that would go up and down. And also must have cameras inside, because there were times where it was down, but like you could see Ed Sheeran inside of it, so that was cool. And it had a bunch of like really big beam structures that were holding up these hanging like guitar pick shaped screens. And yeah, I always loved seeing special effects and what the artists do with visuals to add to their sound. Of course, the music's always the most important part, but the visuals add quite a bit to the experience just to make it way better. Ed Sheeran also brought out Khalid for Beautiful People, since if you know the song, it originally featured him and it was on his Collaborations album, so it made sense. Of course, since he opened, that it would just make sense that he would sing his part in the song. He came back out and that was a surprise. And an even bigger surprise, later he brought out Macklemore for 2 songs. He was talking about like his friend, which was Macklemore, and like saying how he'd known him for a long time. And then he just came out there, the crowd went wild, crazy, very big surprise. Yeah, it makes sense since Macklemore's from Washington and they're friends, so like that's just pretty awesome. Like no one really expected this, although I did have in my mind, like one of his shows, Eminem came out and did songs with Ed Sheeran, and I think that was in Detroit, where Eminem is from. So it's like a similar thing to that. Honestly, just really smart and fun to bring other people out during your performance. You don't really see that much, but it makes it really fun and interesting. Those 2 songs really got the crowd hyped up. The energy was insane. Yeah, I'll just go through a few songs he played, I'll give my thoughts, and then I'll wrap up, give my summary and final thoughts of the concert. Shivers is a really good song. This one has really grown on me, been listening to it a lot. I love the acoustic guitar playing, and with this one he also showed off how he plays live. He has this thing where like he records himself live and then he plays that back like a backing track, since usually it's just him, the one person on stage. So really creative and unique way to not really have to do pre-recorded backing tracks. And then he did also have a band on some other songs, but a lot of the time it's just him. During the song The A-Team, of course, slower song, tons of people like waved their phones with their flashlights on, like tons of people did. It looked really cool on camera. Castle on the Hill, really cool animation on screen, kind of described the story of the song with animated characters. That was nice to see. The song Eyes Closed, he was explaining how this was dedicated to one of his friends who passed away, and he wrote this in between when he passed away and his funeral, so that was quite sad. I mean, Subtract in general is just a very like emotional, like down-to-earth album, which is really cool because it's kind of like a change for Ed Sheeran. Like not like his other stuff doesn't have some of that, but like it's less like just like poppy. Like Shape of You is just like, oh, romantic, haha, whatever. Like Subtract is seriously like emotional, like focus on like the lyrics and the vocals, and that's mostly it because it's kind of bare bones, but I like it for that. And yeah, Eyes Closed also just another song that's been catching on me. It's both emotional and just very catchy and just heartfelt and a nice song. And then speaking of Subtract, Boat is the only other song he played from the album, and I'm very curious what the other songs from Subtract would have sounded like at Paramount Theater, since, they're more toned down. Boat was pretty good though. It had a cool animation with him and like water and stuff. It's just a very nice change of pace, you know, less poppy, more acoustic, and just focus on the lyrics and vocals. Then for Galway Girl, this has been one of my favorites by Ed Sheeran, and it still is. He brought out a violinist, Alicia Anstrom. That was really cool. Yeah, this is just one of my favorites. I really like the sort of Irish-inspired sound. So catchy, just like fun to dance to. And it's a really unique sound. Also, I just want to mention, there's the remix of this song is super good. Like, I love some EDM remixes. I love EDM. I'll get into that. But the remix of Galway Girl, also great. Ed Sheeran, he played the song Love Yourself. Of course, everyone knows it pretty much, the one by Justin Bieber. It was actually Ed that originally wrote the song, but ended up giving it to Ed Sheeran because he didn't think it would be a hit or something, which is ironic because it was a hit. But yeah, I honestly think it sounds better with Ed singing it. The one with Justin Bieber is decent, but it's a bit annoying, and I've just never really been a fan of it. Then, like I mentioned earlier, Macklemore came out. They did his songs Thrift Shop and Can't Hold Us, both really good, popular, iconic songs. Yeah, really good songs. This is the kind of hip-hop / rap I really love. There's a lot of rap I'm just not fond of, or honestly just despise. There's a lot I despise, I will say that. But there's some out there, it's just great. And a lot of times it's because the instruments are just more present, and they have some singing too. It's not just like the same beats and like rapping you can barely understand. Like, if you like that, fine. But like, there is like, I absolutely love some rap, just most of it is just not for me, but these are really good. Macklemore is a pretty good rapper. Then, finally, for the encore, Ed, he came back wearing a customized Seahawks jersey that said Variations on it, probably, you know, to promote his upcoming album, Autumn Variations. That was unexpected, pretty cool. And that's all I have to say for the set list. Really good set list, nice variety of songs. The effects were really cool, and it's just really good experience. Yeah, before I end this, a few more things to talk about. I'll talk about the venue real quick. So, the arena, it was pretty good. Again, I've said this before, but I prefer the small theater settings, you know? Less people, you really feel closer to the artist, but I can't complain too much, because it makes sense. Big artists like these play the really big arenas, because they have so many fans, of course. And I mentioned earlier, it would have been really cool to see him perform at the Paramount Theater. Like, that's a really nice theater. And it's cool that he did 2 shows at both back to back. Obviously, he couldn't have done just Paramount because he has too many fans. So, yeah, it would have been cool. And then finally, after the concert ended, again, really good concert. It was cool. Yeah, it took forever to get out of the stadium. We had to wait in these big blobs, lines, not really even lines, shuffle along the streets for quite a while. We eventually found the train station. We had to wait there for quite a while. It was super crowded. Eventually, we got on some train that was going by. It was insanely overpacked, like unsafe levels of overpack. Like, there probably should not be that many people, but everyone just wanted to get out of there. So, yeah, we had to stand in there for like half an hour, super cramped. Finally got to the last stop and got out of there. Super just chaotic, really annoying and frustrating. But again, it's a Seattle experience. We got home really late, but that's just what happens when you go home from concerts late at night, especially in Seattle. So yeah, that's it for this concert. It was really fun and worth going for sure. Honestly, I'll go to pretty much any concert as long as I somewhat like one of the bands that's playing. Concerts just always so much fun. Very good way to connect with more with the artists and discover new music. And I honestly had a lot more to say than I originally thought I would. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Also, I have plans. I might go back and do reviews of other concerts I've gone to this year. And at the end of the year, I'll do a ranking of all the concert performances I've seen this year. And I'll be ranking each band separately rather than the concert as a whole, like with this. So, yeah, stay tuned for some other music or gaming content, hopefully coming soon or sometime in the future. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and see you in the next video.